Hi, I'm David Schwartz, and welcome to my podcast. I am a criminal defense attorney. I'm also a lobbyist. In fact, I'm the only registered lobbyist in the state of New York who also tries criminal cases. And I want to talk to you a little bit about criminal law today, specifically the jury trial and the poisoning of the jury trial, what's happened to it. Unfortunately, in this information age, in this day and age where people have all the information that they need at the tip of their fingers, it has poisoned the jury system, and no one is talking about it. We're talking about it at bar associations, we're talking about it in legal circles, but the average everyday person doesn't understand how important the Sixth Amendment is in this country. The Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution, the right to a fair trial, the right to confront witnesses. This is at the essence of the Sixth Amendment, the Constitution, and it's being eroded. And it's scary because anyone could be a criminal defendant at any time. It could be you, it could be your loved one, it could be a friend, it could be a cousin, it could be a brother, a parent, a child. And when that person is in that situation, what needs to kick in? Well, at the very essence, the presumption of innocence, right? We need the presumption of innocence. Everyone accused in this country is presumed innocent. And it's up to the government. It's up to the government to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the burden, and it's a strong burden. It's the highest burden in the land. It's the highest burden we have. They have to go over and beyond any reasonable doubt that that person is guilty of those crimes. And the courtroom is like a laboratory. Think of the courtroom like a laboratory. There's the prosecutor, there's the defense attorney, there's the criminal defendant, there's the judge, there's the clerk, but then there's this jury, right? And the judge is the arbiter of the law. So the judge makes all decisions concerning the law of the case. But that jury, and I don't care if it's a murder case or an assault case, a robbery or a white collar case, that jury is the decider of the facts. And it's up to the jury to decide whether or not that defendant is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And the only items that jury is allowed to consider are the evidence. It's the evidence in court, the evidence that is presented in court, whether it's testimonial evidence, so that's when a witness takes the stand and they give testimony to that court, and some of the testimony sometimes is not admissible. Most of it will be admissible. So that's why we have the judge to decide what's admissible and what's not admissible. So we have witnesses. We have documentary evidence. So there are documents that the jury could consider if it does come into evidence, if it passes through those legal standards. We also have audio evidence. We have video evidence. There could be expert witnesses. There could be medical records. So that's all the evidence that the jury gets to consider in the case. And that's it. And of course, the defendant does not have to take the stand. Because why? Because it's not up to the defendant to prove himself innocent. Again, it's the prosecution that has to prove a defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense could sit on their hands the entire trial, not do anything, and if the prosecution does not meet that the highest burden of the land, they do not meet the burden, then that jury must vote not guilty. It's an essential part of our system of justice. But what's happening? Social media, this information age, has destroyed the jury system. In high-profile cases where you have thousands of articles ostracizing a criminal defendant, presuming him guilty, not innocent, but presuming him guilty, that infects and poisons the jury. Because it's my opinion, and I'm the first attorney that's actually written a jury instruction on this. I don't believe a juror, as well-intentioned as they may well be, that they are not capable. They are not capable of staying off this phone and doing their own research and doing Google searches. They are not capable of it. So when the judge instructs the jury, and I've told judges this, that they could stand on their heads and tell the jury, you may not view newspapers, you may not view TV, social media, iPhones, you name it. They're not capable of it. Because when you're sitting there and you know that the person, it's a high profile case, the human nature instinct is to do that Google search and to see what comes up. And what comes up? Articles, blogs of people writing these articles and blogs that have no first-hand information whatsoever about the case at hand. And it's almost always fake news. I hate to use that term, fake news, but I'm going to use it here. And I told the judge in my last trial that the jury won't be capable of not reading those blogs. So what I want you to do is, I want you to assume that they are going to read it. And I want you to tell them in this jury instruction that what they read on the internet is not first-hand knowledge. It's not people with direct knowledge of the facts and circumstances of the case. And it has to be disregarded because in almost all those cases, it's almost always fake news. It was a fake news charge. The judge, of course, rejected the charge and kept telling them to not view the internet. And of course, I have information that they did view the internet, and that issue is being litigated right now. But I had another trial, and this is where the person's not even in the local newspapers. There was a couple articles, but no big deal. In fact, in the old days, when we didn't have the internet, we didn't have social media, what would happen? All right, so there'd be a little random article in the New York Post, or there'd be a little random TV clip on it, not ostracizing the criminal defendant. So if the juror caught wind of it or saw a little blog, it wasn't going to infect the juror's decision making. But now we have thousands of blogs out there written in a way that shows that the defendant is guilty, and they don't even have a shot. It's a horrible thing. So in one other trial I had, the jury was deadlocked, 6-6 on a Friday night. I represented a psychiatrist accused of a sex crime. So there weren't too many articles about this psychiatrist, but the blogs were horrible. It made this guy look awful. Blogs, there were medical reports online, things that the jurors should have never have seen. They should have never have seen any of this information. And what happens? So the judge adjourns the case on a Friday. They're hopelessly deadlocked, 6-6. And on Monday morning, 11 minutes after the last juror showed up, what was their verdict? 11 minutes on a Monday. Guilty. You're going to tell me that certain jurors on that jury didn't tell the jurors who were gearing themselves to not guilty. You don't think that they told them, oh, just look this guy up on the internet and that'll change your decision. That's exactly what happened. We were never able to prove it, but that's exactly what happened in that case. And that is an example of the jury system being infected. That case, under normal circumstances, should have been a mistrial. It should have been a deadlocked jury at 6-6, but they got infected over the weekend. And that is not the way our jury system is supposed to work. That is not what it was meant to be. And we have a serious problem on our hands of criminal defendants getting a fair trial in this country. And we need to focus more on it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, to get all of you focused in on important issues. All right, important issues. Stormy Daniels is not that important of an issue, okay? I hate to break it to you. A lot of these cases are not that important that you hear on TV. But one criminal defendant going to jail because of an infected jury who was poisoned by social media and blogs, that is unacceptable. It's unconscionable. that is happening in our society, and we need to put a stop to it. So I'm hoping that this podcast will also create movements and help people, attack problems of our society. So I appreciate you tuning in to my first episode of a topic that I think is super important, and we're going to cover it over and over again, and I'm hoping that you will get involved too, because our court system is, unfortunately, it's broken right now. It's broken, and the Sixth Amendment is at stake. This is our Constitution, folks. So pay attention and let's do something about it. Thank you for tuning in to my first episode, and I look forward to everyone tuning in to my next episode. Thank you.